Okay, time for another top 5. I read a lot of books, but nowhere near as much as the wife. It mostly comes from working in the book trade many years ago. I used to work for an awesome company called Autocratik. I remember them. They were fantastic. Anyway, due to working at Autocratik, I read a lot of books and really got me a great love of literature, but not the kind of literature you're probably expecting. So I think it's about time I did a top 5 favourite books of all time. This is probably going to surprise you. At number 5, Stephen King's It. I was never a big reader as a kid. Yeah, I didn't really read an awful lot as a kid at all. I usually just read the stuff that the schools made me read, which was usually really, really dull stuff like Cider with Rosie or Merchant of Venice and that kind of stuff like that. Wasn't this edition. This is the wife's rather battered one. The edition that I remember as a kid is the one with the drain and the eyes coming out the drain. I remember seeing it in a bookshop in my little hometown, and it scared the bejesus out of me, just that cover. But it was one of those weird things where you get that strange fascination that you just can't stop looking at it. And yeah, had to go back, bought it. It's bigger than Lord of the Rings. I tried reading Lord of the Rings as a kid, didn't get very far because it was just a bit wordy for me. I later have read Lord of the Rings, mostly inspired by watching Babylon 5. Yeah, I'm really that sad. But it, I don't know what it is about it. There's just something creepy with a cool element of nostalgia in there as well. At number 4, Frank Herbert's Dune. Dune. My name is a killing word. The film confused the hell out of me when I first saw it. I have a very good friend of mine, Coop, hey Coop, who reads this like two times a year or something like that. But yeah, thanks to the film, I was inspired to read the book, and the book is amazing. The book is fantastic. I have read all of Herbert's Dunes, and they are fantastic. I actually quite liked the Prelude trilogy as well. Then I tried reading the ancient history ones, the old Battle of Corinth and the Butlerian Jihad, and I couldn't get any very far with those. But the original is fantastic, fantastic. What I'd personally like to see is the design ethic of David Lynch's Dune translated into an HBO TV series like Game of Thrones. At number 3, this is where it gets really strange, because you probably think, why are you picking these things? They're not works of literature and they're not classics, but this to me is a classic. John Dies at the End, David Wong. This is the first book I've read for a long time where I got to the end of it and turned to page 1 and started reading again. There's just so many ideas in there. It's the most bonkers thing going. I really enjoyed This Book is Full of Spiders. Seriously, dude, please don't touch it, which is the follow-up to it. Wasn't quite as good as this. John Dies at the End is fantastic. The film is great. Love the film, but it's like they filmed that bit at the beginning and that bit at the end and missed all the middle out. Seriously, if you get a chance, read John Dies at the End. Hilarious, scary, surreal weirdness. Brilliant. At number 2, House of Leaves. Mark Danilowski. Yeah, this really is a scary book. It's kind of unsettling, mostly because it's a bit like watching the Blair Witch Project. It's like you're peeking in on some journal accounts of some weirdness going on. Basically, a strange door appears in a house. that shouldn't be there, that leads into a corridor, strange shenanigans going on, and it's hard to describe it really. The bit that makes it really unique is the way that it's laid out, and it's something that I've found particularly inspiring. I mean, one person's type is in one typeface, which makes perfect sense, and another person's dialogue is in another thing. But then you start getting page layouts like that. I mean, that's just stunning, isn't it? I mean, look, it's even in colour. And then you get weird bits where you get like 3 words in a page just whizzing past. And it doesn't mean that there's lack of story. It actually adds to the way you're reading it, because the tension there, it's almost like you're on a roller coaster ride and it's the scary bit, or you're watching a horror film and it's the really, really tense bit and you really want to know what's happening next, so you're really, really flicking the pages over because there's only 2 words per page and you're reading them really, really quickly, and oh my god, it's gone upside down and there's bits all over the place, and then bits are all crossed out, and then it all goes upside down, and then you're having to turn the page sideways to read it, and there's weird little bits of punctuation everywhere. And seriously, if you haven't read it, give it a bash. It is an experience. His follow-up, Only Revolutions, left me a bit cold, I'm afraid. But the way it was designed was very clever. You had to kind of keep flipping the book over and reading the passages. And yeah, anyway. Looking forward to his new one coming out in May. Number 1. This is probably going to surprise everybody. It's not Lord of the Rings. It's not The Hobbit. It's not the Illuminatus trilogy. Falling Out of Cars by Jeff Noon. I've read this about 5 times now. I've got about 6 copies of it in hardback, another copy in paperback, and I have the ebook, so I can carry it around with me all the time. There's just something about it. It's an odd story, told almost like journal entries from a character called Marlene, and something strange has happened. There's been like a strange disease that means that that information is dangerous. You can't look at your own reflection without being lost, staring into mirrors or even the reflective surface of a television or something like that. Books and the written word can be just as dangerous, and people have to take a pill basically called lucidity to keep themselves straight and narrow. And on top of all this, a group of misfits are kind of thrown together on an odd mission to try and retrieve bits of a mirror that are causing strange effects. There's a particularly awesome sequence where they go into a building, and as they're heading up the various flights to where this mirror is, they spot CCTV and notice themselves coming in, and you end up in a strange recursive loop in the book, which is just, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. Seriously, why has nobody made this into a TV series? I tweeted to Jeff Noon about saying that it was one of my favourite books of all time, and he even tweeted back and said that there apparently were plans to turn it into a movie or into a TV series, but it all kind of fell through, which is a real shame, because it's almost like reading 28 Days Later but without zombies, with a even scarier threat where everything is dangerous and you can't trust your own perceptions. Fantastic. So, if you were to make a top 5 list of your favourite books of all time, what would be on it? Would it be any of the ones that I put here? I must admit, honourable mention would probably have to go to Chuck Palahniuk, because I love Fight Club, I love Survivor. Haunted is possibly one of the scariest things I've read, and possibly one of the slightly more nauseating ones. Rant's another awesome one of Chuck Palahniuk's as well. You should read Rant. So what would be your top 5 favourite books of all time? Answers in the comments, or post up your own videos. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe, and until next time, stay multi-classy.